The forbidden monad codes Jesus taught before Judas betrayed him. Something extraordinary happened in the Garden of Gethsemane 3 hours before Judas arrived with the priests. Something so powerful that it vanished from the versions of Scripture approved by the institution. Jesus gathered his inner circle. Peter, James, and John 2 revealed 3 verbal codes, not prayers, not blessings, but sound sequences that broke every archonic barrier designed to keep humanity disconnected from its divine monad consciousness. These codes were ancient triggers, meant to awaken memory, not beliefs. As Jesus finished speaking the final code, the disciples watched Judas's face drain of color, his breath shallow, his hands trembling. He didn't flee for silver. He fled because the archons activated the defense protocol through him. These codes were too dangerous. If they spread, the entire harvest system would fall. But tonight, you hear what was meant to be erased. Stay with this message, because if you're listening now, it's because the archons failed to stop you. Most people misunderstand Judas, imagining greed or malice drove him, yet the truth moves in a different direction entirely. Judas wasn't acting from desire. He was acting under compulsion. When the sound frequencies of those 3 codes reached his consciousness, the archonic system embedded inside all humans reacted instantly. That inner voice, the one that whispers, "This is too much. Turn back. Forget what you learned." That voice seized him. The other disciples recognized something was wrong, but they didn't yet understand the mechanism. You have felt this same resistance in your own life. Whenever you encounter a truth capable of transforming everything, suddenly fear rises, doubt whispers. Logic tries to silence intuition. That resistance is not natural. It is programmed. It is the defense protocol attempting to keep you inside the separation matrix. Judas didn't know how to override it, but you can, because now you know it exists, and you can finally recognize the difference between your voice and the intruders. When the disciples asked Jesus why these teachings came in the form of codes instead of simple instructions, his answer cracked open the foundation of their understanding. He told them they were not learning to become monad consciousness. They already were monad consciousness. The codes were triggers meant to awaken memory at a level deeper than thought, just as a childhood song can transport you instantly to a forgotten moment. These verbal sequences restore awareness of what has always been true. Peter understood first. He realized they weren't gaining access to something external. They were remembering an internal identity buried under centuries of archonic programming. The church later replaced this remembering with obedience, replaced frequency with fear, replaced inner truth with institutional control. But the original teaching was never lost. It lived in the memory of 3 disciples and in every chosen one who carried the codes through the ages. The first code Jesus taught was simple yet overwhelming in its effect. I am the eternal present. 5 words designed to collapse the illusion of time. The archons maintained control by pulling humans endlessly into past regret and future anxiety. When Peter spoke the first code aloud, he described an immediate silence within himself, a sudden end to the mental tug-of-war he'd carried since childhood. Past and future dissolved. Only presence remained, the place where monad consciousness actually functions. For the first time, he wasn't reacting to life. He was witnessing it from a higher awareness, untouched by fear. This is the power of the first code. It frees your consciousness from the time trap the archons used to keep you harvested. The second code followed naturally. I revoke all separation. With these 4 words, James felt every invisible wall around him dissolve. Separation is the foundational lie of the archonic system. The idea that you are isolated, exiled, disconnected from source, from truth, from each other. This lie generates fear, competition, suffering. When James spoke the code, he realized separation had never been real. It was merely perceptual distortion, a filter imposed on human consciousness. Revoking separation didn't create connection. It revealed the connection that had always existed. The disciples later said this moment changed the way they saw every human being, every relationship, every breath. For the first time, they experienced life through the unity Jesus had been teaching all along. The third code completed the sequence with a recognition so profound that John wept. I return to source. These words are not a journey, but a remembering. Jesus explained that humans were never exiled from God. They only believed they were. The entire narrative of separation, fall, punishment, and redemption was a trap built by the archons to convince people they were spiritually powerless. When John spoke the third code, he felt the lifelong tension inside him, released as though he'd been searching for home without realizing he was already standing in it. The return wasn't movement. It was awakening, and once awakened, the archons no longer had access to him. Jesus emphasized that the order of the codes mattered. The first collapses time, freeing the mind from the past-future egos. The second dismantles separation, dissolving the algorithm controlling human perception. The third establishes awareness in source, awakening the original frequency the archons cannot touch. When spoken together, the three codes shift consciousness into monad frequency where fear, control, and deception cannot operate. The disciples practiced the sequence that night, and each time they repeated it, their awareness strengthened. They still lived in human bodies under the threat of Roman rule, yet none of it held power over them anymore. They were present, unified, and awake. But Jesus also warned them, when you use the codes, the archons will detect the shift. Within 1 or 2 days, the defense protocol activates. Doubt, confusion, resistance, the sudden urge to abandon everything you just learned. These are not your thoughts. They are programmed intrusions meant to drag you back into the separation matrix. Every disciple felt this attack. Peter said it came as a wave of rational fear. James described it as a voice insisting he stop before he lost his mind. John said it felt like a storm of doubt, trying to smother the new awareness he'd gained. Judas experienced the same initial activation, but, unlike the others, e believed Italiano, he mistook the protocol for his own thoughts and ran to the priests. That is the difference between betrayal and awakening. Recognizing the voice that is not your own. Before you sleep tonight, speak the codes aloud in order. Feel the shifts occur in real time. The first code frees you from the illusion of time. The second breaks the spell of separation. The third awakens your recognition of source. The archons will test you within 48 hours, and the resistance will feel like your own doubt. But when you speak the codes again, the protocol collapses immediately. It cannot operate in monad frequency. It only functions when you forget what you are. The disciples passed this test because they knew the attack was coming. Now you do too. You are stepping into the same teaching they received, the one the archons used Judas to silence. You are not Judas. You are the ones who stayed. You sense truth, even when others deny it. You feel resonance, even when logic fights it. That resonance is monad consciousness, awakening through you. Speak the codes now, with awareness. I am the eternal present. I revoke all separation. I return to source. Time collapses. Isolation dissolves. Home becomes visible again. The codes do not take you somewhere new. They reveal where you have always been. Use them tonight, and when the defense protocol tries to rise tomorrow, you'll know exactly what to do. Speak them again. Reclaim your frequency. Remain awake. The archons cannot harvest those who remember themselves. This is a story of triumph. Did the protagonist make the right decisions? If you were in this situation, what would you do? Share your opinion in the comments. We want to know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Memorable Stories and Overcoming, where inspiring stories of triumph and justice are shared daily.